I'm Ana Maria Martinez, and the title of the show is Unveiling.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you as well.
Now, I am very excited for this show that's coming to town this weekend. What are Houston audiences going to be able to expect to see from this production?
What's really exciting for me about this is that it's more of a personal journey, a personal story, to reflect on different areas of my life. How did I get from this point to then this point to then this point? And everybody has a journey. And I just want everyone to know, and I hope that we have some people that are in the midst of figuring out what they want to do, regardless of what stage they are in their lives, that it's okay to not have it all figured out right away and to be in that dreaming and hoping state, and you will find your way. So how do I do that musically? It's by putting in some pieces from where I come from Puerto Rico. We have some things from Spain. We have some things from opera. We have some things from musical theater, which was my first love. And some of those songs are more, I would say, to the point of that angst, of that searching. I've come to learn more in this process that theme is abundant in musical theater. I think in opera, we have much more love and tragedy and sacrifice for one's love or one's country or one's family. But in musical theater, even though you can have that, there's much more inner searching going on. So there's a lot of that. Plus there are interview questions mixed in there with the wonderful Andy Einhorn, who has helped me to put this program together, has done such incredible work, and he is tickling the ivories on this evening and leading the conversation so that it can make sense in both conversation and music.
Now, how long does it take to actually put something like this together? Like, they present the idea to you and you have to sit down and decide what to include, what not to include. What does that process look like?
This has taken a long time, and it's because when I was approached by specifically Deborah Lugo from the Hobby Center, she said, I want you to do something and free reign for what you want to do. So then the brainstorming began. And I think this has been, my goodness, if not a year, close to it, of just trying to think and write sketches of what it would look like. It's much more difficult than I thought it would be. So it takes a long time. For example, if I had put together the kind of recital program that I normally do, it would have taken me maybe 2 days to put it together. And this has been a different journey because it's much more personal. And it took a lot of planning with Andy. It took a lot of planning with my personal assistant, who is an incredible brain and heart in helping to guide the whole process. So it's been a lot.
I did read you are a Houston resident. Is that correct?
Yes.
Does that make this a little bit more of a special show to you? Because in addition, you're doing it like right here at home.
Yeah, it does actually. It means a lot because that has become my hometown. I was a young artist in the opera, Houston Grand Opera, in the 94-95 season. And starting the 99-2000 season, I was there for a good 30 years or so, just season after season performing, and I really grew up in that theater. I learned so much while I was still in the midst of a wonderful and beautiful international career. Houston always remained home, and I moved there in 2002 to permanently make it my home.
I love that. Now, to talk just for a second about your opera career, I mean, I personally have just gotten introduced to opera maybe in the last year and a half. My wife is a massive fan. As a matter of fact, when I told her I was talking to you, she lost it. She was so excited.
Oh, that's very sweet.
but so it's been a fun journey learning about opera and being exposed to things that I wasn't aware of. What was it like for you, the very first opera production that you saw? What did that experience feel like? And how did you know that this is what you wanted your career to be?
So full disclosure, my mother was an opera singer. So I was in it, backstage, around it, listening to it since I was in utero. So she and my dad began their journey at Florida State University to get their doctorates while I was being born. So while she was still pregnant with me, my father realized that although he had a beautiful career as an electrical engineer, early coder for IBM, he said to her, "This isn't my calling. Yes, I can do it well, but it's not really what I want to do." He wanted psychology. And then she had to choose between science and music because she had degrees in both. And so then she chose music. And off we went. And I was 6 months old. And she tells me that she would take me to ballet performances. She would take me to opera performances. And she was doing the opera Gianni Schicchi. And I was just very, very little. And she'd wheel me in my little carriage, and I would be quiet. That's what's interesting, is that I just always knew to pay attention. Perhaps it's because I was so familiar with it in utero. But as I got older, seeing her in rehearsals and performances, I just took it as this is normal. Her whole family, that side of my family, very musical. So it really, like one of my aunts would say, it's to be in that colon part of the family. Was like being in a 1950s musical. You know, you just walk in and everyone was in song and dance, and I thought everyone's family was like that. So it was normal and beautiful, but I didn't know that I would have a career in it. As I got older and in high school in the musicals, I realized that that's really what I wanted to do. And I started out in that area, Boston Conservatory, for 1 year as a musical theater major, and I learned a lot with very intense acting classes. However, I realized my voice was not ideally suited for what that genre required at the time. It started to go more in the direction of rock, and I love rock, but my voice just doesn't do that. So then I made the difficult decision to switch over to voice major, and then I auditioned at the Juilliard School in New York and went there. And then that started it all. I did my bachelor's and my master's at Juilliard, and then a year of competitions, auditions, and then entered the Houston Grand Opera Young Artist Program. But I will say, and I like to bring this up in interviews, because sometimes people think that if they're going to go into the same field that their parents are in, or a sibling who's very good at it, any of that, it can bring up a lot of fear of failure, but also fear of success. And will that change the dynamic of the relationship? Am I taking something away from my loved one if I have success? How will I be viewed? All of those questions are valid. And I'm here to tell you, you're not taking anything away from anybody else with your success, because that's your personal journey. And it's my hope also that everyone around the person who's looking for their fulfillment has support and that understanding around them.
I love that. In terms of like the future of opera, what do you think the future of opera kind of looks like? And what do you think are the steps to kind of bring in a younger generation into the genre and introduce them to the shows?
So I think that we have very good turnout as far as the younger generations. For the longest time, it felt like an elitist art form. That's not how it was created in the first place. Hundreds of years ago, it was not an elitist art form. It was the popular music of the day. Nevertheless, so companies in Europe and in the US have been marketing carefully, and I'm so glad that they're having great success at bringing in younger crowds. I think that especially first-time goers, regardless of the age, once they attend their first opera, they're hooked. It is, for the most part, and I say for the most part because some of the more modern ones tend to have electronic music in the orchestra pit as well. And when that happens, we do need body mics like they have on Broadway. But for the most part, and forever, until very recently, we're never mic'd. Again, unless you're in an arena. Let's say it's an Andrea Bocelli concert or something like that. You're in an arena, you do need amplification because that's not acoustically built for an acoustic performance. But we are, in that regard, that's our superpower. Much like an athlete, a gymnast, a dancer, right? We all exemplify what the human body can do with training and talent and just tremendous discipline more than anything else. Going back to where I think it's going, I think one of the important things is to keep storylines relevant to our current times. I think that we are in flux in many areas in our society. And when we have librettos come and composers, so you've got the text and you've got the music that are telling the story of something that's very relevant today, that is of utmost interest to people, let's say newcomers to the audience, when they know that there's something that really matters. The other thing to keep in mind is also sometimes it's great to keep a classic and not always update it to current times. It's not always my favorite when I see a classic opera being set to today's climate. I think a lot of things don't translate, at least as far as the visual, but the storylines are still relatable. Very much so. You can have angst between a father and a daughter, the daughter who's trying to rebel and to find herself. That's every day. Any of us that are parents know that kids are going to go through that. We went through that. So that's relevant. And I think that we are in very good hands, because also I'm very proud to say that I am a professor at Rice University in Houston, and I teach voice. And I've got so many wonderful, young, vibrant, talented students, and their passion is opera. So you've got the students that want to do it, but you've got the audience that wants to go hear them and support them. So if we did not have that abundance of interest in the young people wanting to become opera singers, then I would worry. But we have an abundance of beautiful talent. So I think we're in great hands.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that I wish that I had realized sooner, because I think it would have gotten me to the opera sooner, is I was so nervous. A lot of us only kind of think of opera from what we've seen in movies and TV. And I'm like, I would look at it and go, well, I'm not going to understand the lyrics. I'm not going to understand what's going on. And my mind was blown when I found out that there are subtitles. Guys, there are subtitles that they post. So you are totally clued in on everything that's happening. And then you have these amazing voices that just knock you way back in your seat. Like, I mean, I was at first concert of arias that I went to in Houston, I was in tears after watching this one girl perform, because it's just so powerful. So it's definitely something, if you haven't been introduced to it, you need to go and check it out. It's incredible.
Thank you for advocating so beautifully for the art form.
What composers are you excited about that are up and coming? Is there anybody on the horizon that you're just super excited to work with or see come to light?
Well, I'll tell you that some of the recent ones that I've had the chance to work with and perform their music have really impacted me tremendously. I would start with the most recent, Golihov is his last name, and the opera is Ay Nada Mar, and it translates to Fountain of Tears, and it has to do with Federico Garcia Lorca. I was thinking of somebody else, excuse me. Federico Garcia Lorca, who's our great poet and playwright and political activist, and his muse, Margarita Xirgu, and how she tried to get him out of fascist Spain. She was convinced that they would kill him because of everything that he stood for, and they did. And she was never able to get him out, and that tortured her. She was able to get out, and she took all of his works with her, and she performed them throughout Latin America and advocated for him. And his, I think without her, we wouldn't have his works. But it's got a lot of stuff that's still relevant today, so this is not just during fascist Spain. The opera was composed in 2003 or 2002, and it is extremely powerful. I would say Gabriela Lena Frank. The piece that I did of hers is El último sueño de Frida y Diego, the last dream of Frida and Diego, and it is Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera. And then I would also add Jimmy Lopez, who is mostly known for his symphonic works, but he also does works that include the voice. And he did this incredible oratorio called Dreamers for that generation, for that specific group. And it is one of the most powerful pieces I have ever done in my life. So we've got, those are just three, but we have so many wonderful, wonderful composers that are brilliant in their own right. The beauty is that each composer has their own musical language. So it's very easy to identify which are the ones that are truly, truly touching you and reaching you. Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, I always like to end on this question because I think there's no better way to speak to a work than the people who are obviously putting their time, effort, and love into it. Why do you think Houston audiences need to come on out and see the show?
Oh, I'd love for them to see it because I want them to know, like I said earlier in the interview, everybody has a process, everybody has a journey. And sometimes when we think of someone who's successful, we think that it might have come easily to them, or we think that there was not a lot of planning, it just happens. And that's not the case. And there's so many moving parts that apply to everybody, not just to a performer, to a musician, to a singer, anybody trying to find their way, anybody trying to find what is it that I want to do. And I'd like to share these words that my father said when I was making that important decision. He said, ultimately, remember this. Everyone is born with many gifts, but it's up to the individual to identify the one gift that they have, that they were born with, through which they want to reach their highest potential. So then it takes that kind of reflection. Now, you might say that your gift might not translate into a career. I beg to differ. Really look hard and see how you can apply that particular gift that you're so connected with to a career. And then if not, still keep it in your life as a hobby, as a form of expression. But I think that those are wise words to live by, and they were truly life-changing for me.
That's beautiful, and I love that. I'm going to remember that. Well, there you have it, everybody. You guys need to come on down to the Hobby Center. The show is Saturday, May 31st. Tickets are on sale at thehobbycenter.org. Ana, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And I also want to add that to get to see Andy Einhorn is incredible. I think that you're absolutely going to love him. And the music is beautiful. So if nothing else, it's a beautiful musical evening.
Outstanding. I'm looking forward to it. I know the Houston audiences are as well.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been Ray, Houston Film Fanatics. We'll catch you guys real soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a great day, okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.